Thank you very much for joining us on the Photo Flunky Show, episode 91. Today's topic, we're going to get a little bit technical. We're going to talk about the new Nikon D850. Is it going to be your next camera? Hi, everybody. My name is William Beem.
Hi, my name is Lee Beem.
And before we get to that, I just want to let you know that show notes are going to be available at williambeam.com/episode 91, and you can get a transcript of the show there for free. Also, I've got a free ebook for you. It is called Creative Portraits, and you can find it at williambeam.com/freebook. And it's about the emotional and creative side of portrait photography rather than the technical side. So hopefully it'll give you some ideas, and there's plenty of photos and examples in there to show you what kind of things you're looking for to when you compose your photos, when you're thinking about how you're going to set them up. And it's gotten some nice feedback so far. We hope you like it. It's free. Share it with a friend. And I don't know. You got anything else to say?
No, share it with a friend. That's why it's there. Enjoy.
Boy, I didn't wrap that up very well at all, did I?
Spread the love.
Hey, also, when you sign up for that book, you're also subscribing to my email list. We've got a free library for you as well. We've got a few resources out there, some Lightroom brushes, some presets, and a number of other things that I think hopefully you will find enjoyable. And those are for anybody who subscribes to us. So please go ahead, get the free ebook, and then you'll have access to more once you get inside.
And you won't be spammed. What do you send out? One email a week?
I'm sending out one email a week. And then I've got some emails that rarely go out, but there are a couple of them, like here's how you can do this, here's how you can do that. There's just some extra content that doesn't show up on the blog. And I'm also I've got some new ideas of what I want to be able to provide to people. And I might start sending out like some one-question surveys to say, are you interested in training? Are you interested in portrait photography, travel photography? Basically things that let me know what you would like and help me try to provide something that's useful for you.
Yeah.
So not a whole lot of email, and definitely never shared with people who would spam you.
Yeah, that's just not allowed.
No, that's not allowed. We don't like that stuff, so we don't do that stuff. Okay, the Nikon D850. People have been looking at this for a long time. It is considered the upgrade from the D810. I've been shooting with the D800 for quite a while. I've had a D810 from Nikon that they gave me as a loaner for a while, which is a nice camera. But to me, the jump from the D800 to the D810 wasn't big enough that it was worth replacing. Now the D850's come out, and I'm looking at like the specifications. We'll go over some of those. It has got a long list of really wonderful and amazing things, but is it really worth your money to upgrade? Does it do the things that you need to do? And maybe we'll talk a little bit about, is it worth switching brands? I mean, a lot of people, every time something comes out, they go, oh, I'm going to switch from this brand to that brand. I think, man, that's a big jump.
It is, and it's more expensive than just the cost of the camera.
All right, so what we want to do is try and help you figure out, is this really right for you? And the first thing that people talk about is the fact that this is nearly a 46 megapixel camera. That's a lot of data that you're going to be storing. I mean, most cameras, my D700 was a 12 megapixel camera. The D750 that's out now is like a 24 megapixel camera. Those are more than enough for if you're going to be making a print that's reasonably sized, like maybe 24 by 36, or certainly well beyond what you need to do to share on Facebook or social media. So what do you do with that much data and that much resolution behind your photos?
Well, to me, the first thing I think is it's a complete space eater. And it slows things down because working on files that size is going to be slower. That would be my consideration. So that might be justified. But the first thing I think is like, what are you doing that you need resolution that high? I mean, are you printing full-sized murals for a big haul?
Well, that's something. It's like if you're printing off things that are going to, basically that's going to be really large prints. This is almost medium format quality. And they were saying that about the 36 megapixels on the D800. So now you're getting up to just under 46 megapixels. When you consider your storage requirements, that's going to take more storage. It's going to take up more RAM when you're processing. It's going to basically slow things down. And also, if you're shooting with your buffer in your camera, it's got to store more data in RAM and write to disk before it can move on to the next photo.
So it's going to slow things down. But here's the other thing. If you might have to upgrade your computer systems to be able to work on these files.
Now, here's the reason why I might consider that I want it. And I don't necessarily need it. This is a want. I am going out taking photos of backgrounds and textures that I'll use. Some will go in the free library, some that I'll end up selling. And the larger images I have for other photographers that they want to use to do their compositing work, that works out because if you've taken these things that are too small and then have to stretch them out to put their photos on, it doesn't work very well. But that's kind of a very limited scenario for me.
Yeah.
And it's not something I'm jumping at right now because of the cost of the camera and the accessories that go with it. So right off the bat, I don't really know, beyond some commercial applications, who really needs that size of a file or even wants a file that big. Because like you said, it's going to eat a lot of space and slow things down.
Yep. And it's going to incur other costs for your, to be able to work, to make them usable when you're working on them.
All right. One of the other things I look for in some of these Nikon cameras is a battery grip. And this camera, out of the box, with no battery grip, shoots 7 frames per second, which is not bad, especially for the file size that big. They've done a good job to get that. And then you add on the battery grip, it'll shoot at 9 frames per second. I know I've read a few people talking about, oh, this is good for sports photography. I'm thinking, well, no. The sports photographers are like the Canon high-end one is shooting like 14 frames per second.
Yeah.
And I don't know why sports photographers need 46 megapixels.
That's just beyond me. I guess, but you can probably go and set the quality of your image within the camera to adjust for that.
You can, and you can kind of rank it down a little bit. I think it's good that you've got the capability to have high quality images. And the sensor in here is not a Sony sensor. It's one that I think that Nikon designed and having someone else built. They talk about it having a background lighting that's going to be better for high ISO photos and great quality. We'll see when it comes out, but I think these are, for most photographers, I think these are nits.
Yeah, I mean, if you're paying extra to get all this extra resolution quality, and then you're having to reduce it to make it workable for you,
yeah,
there's no point.
No, you might as well save some money and buy a lower end camera. Now, the next few things that are on this list of specifications, I think are actually pretty good reasons why someone may want it. One is the 153-point autofocus system. And this is the same system that is in the Nikon D5, their high-end camera, which is, roughly $6,500. That's what sports photographers are using if they're not using the Canon. That is, by all accounts, a really wonderful autofocus system. If you're shooting action and you need something that does a great job with many focus points or 3D focusing, that I get. But I still don't think this is the camera with 46 megapixels that you're really going to want to take out shooting football or basketball or what have you. So I really do love the idea of the 153 points autofocus system. I love anything that improves autofocus. One of the things the D800 and the D810 really weren't very good at were getting focus in low light. And this autofocus system is supposed to do a much better job of that. So if you're a street photographer, you're walking around at night and you're in low light environments, I think this is actually something that'll help you out. The biggest thing that I've heard people talking about is not getting this for photography, but getting it for video. For the first time, it's actually a true 4K camera from Nikon. They had 4K in previous cameras, but they were kind of had limitations to them. This one is capable of doing the whole thing. So you don't necessarily have to go look to Canon for your videography needs anymore.
Yeah, I don't shoot video with my DSLR.
No, and quite honestly, we do some local travel video, but we don't want to lug around a big DSLR for travel videos. We've got the Canon G7X. It's a little point and shoot camera. We put it on the end of a handheld kind of tripod, and it shoots 4K and it does wonderful stuff for us right there. This, however, if you're going to try and get into something a bit more cinematic, I get it. And finally, it's got all the features you want there. You can have your slow motion with 1080p up to 120, frames per second, and it works that way, and it'll do true 4K. So if you're a Nikon shooter that wants to do some true 4K and you're willing to invest in lugging this thing around for it, you finally got an option that's not Canon. There is one other thing that really grabbed me is most of my Nikon cameras, the DSLRs, were using compact flash for storage. This one doesn't. It's got 2 cards. One is a UHS 2 compliant SD slot. SD cards are all over the place, so that's easy to find. The other one is an XQD slot, and this is something that only Sony makes right now. It used to be that Lexar and Sony would make them. I don't know of another brand of camera that's really using these things, so I don't think they're going to be that ubiquitous to find.
I'm clueless.
And they're not going to be that cheap either. 128 gigabyte card for XQD is going to run roughly about $160.
Oh, good grief.
So, yeah, well, that's something to think about. I've got a ton of of CF cards, in my little wallet, and I can carry those around. None of those will do me any good at all with this camera.
Yeah, I complain about like $30 for an SD card. So yeah, this is not for me.
No, and even, the UHS-2 SD cards for 128 gig, and I like going for the high end, are $90. So if
you're going to need high end. You're going to need a, kind of high class. You're going to need a fast writing speed for these size files.
And that's what the XQD provides. It is a very, very fast card. I mean, the CF cards are old technology. They're outdated. I understand why Nikon went to it. But, if you're going to go to this camera, you're going to have to invest in a lot of things that you don't have potentially.
Yeah.
All right. Battery life, it says it's rated at 1,840 shots. To me, that's pretty good. I don't know how many times I'm going to go out and take that many shots.
I've never actually worked out. I've never wondered how many shots I get with my battery life. I just know that when I go out, okay, if I'm shooting all day, I can use, this is how much I need.
Yeah, I've never had that problem either. So that's good for us, I guess. But you know what? If you're out for a full day, maybe you're doing sports photography. You're just blazing away at things. Again, I still don't think this is truly a sports camera. But hey, you never know. One of the things I do like about it is the back screen is now both, it's tiltable and it's a touch screen. The thing with Nikon, they've got this little joystick, almost like a little button inside of a circle. That's kind of a pain to move your menu back and forth.
Mm.
Canon's got like a nice little dial that moves things rather quickly. But now if you can just go ahead and touch the screen and kind of move and pick what you want to, it's much easier to operate.
That's pretty cool. The tilting, my brother had one of the Nikons, one of the entry level ones when he started with a tilting screen. And when he upgraded, ironically, he didn't get that.
That's something I don't understand.
Yeah, he missed it to the point that he considered downgrading again. He used it a lot because he did a lot of like low level shots where he was maybe had the camera on the ground,
mm-hmm.
and being able to tilt the screen is really helpful.
It really is, and that's something, the higher end cameras typically don't have this. It's considered like a consumer feature. I'm thinking, man, this is really useful. Even if in a portrait shot, I may want to get down on the ground and take a shot, but trying to get down all the way, lie flat, look through, tilt my head so I can look through the viewfinder and get that shot right on the ground is annoying.
Well, when I've done stuff like that, I've usually had some security or somebody come up to me and ask if I'm okay, thinking that I've died or, something's going on. Do you need medical? No, I'm taking a photo. Well, maybe I do need medical. I don't know.
One of the other things that I do like about this is it's got SnapBridge, which is, a Nikon thing it's got built-in Bluetooth and it's got a little small Wi-Fi. So if you can be out there taking your photos and then wirelessly transfer them. And you know what? This is probably for two things. It's probably for people that need to transfer to a larger screen so they can see what they are doing wirelessly. Because I've got like the tether cable stuff, and that's a really nice thing. So I can see it on a laptop.
But how does that affect the battery life? Though this would be quite a kind of drain, wouldn't it?
You would think it would probably. They don't say that. They don't tell you how it's going to affect your battery life. But I don't know if you'd leave it on the whole time. But the other thing is you might be out shooting and traveling and say, oh, that's a nice shot. I want to put that on Instagram or Facebook. And then you can transfer it over to a mobile device and post it up.
I would not remember to turn it off.
One of the other things that it has is advanced time-lapse options so basically you can do in-camera 4K video, time-lapse. I don't do a lot of time-lapse. I'm kind of curious about it. I'd like to try it, but it's not the forefront of what I do.
I've never looked at it. I think if you do it, then, this would probably be worth looking at. But
anyways, those are the specs. We're kind of looking at this as it's an interesting thing. It's got a lot of technology built into it, but is it really right and worth an upgrade or a switch over? Let me give you some prices to go with it. The price that's out here right now, I looked on Amazon. The price for the body only is $3,296.95. That gives you the base camera, the battery that goes in it, no lenses, nothing else. Oh, there's one other thing that I forgot. Because they've changed the viewfinder, it's got something called focus peaking in it now. So basically you can look and see what the background is going to look like before you actually click the shutter. But they had to change that so it no longer has a pop-up flash on it. That doesn't sound like a big deal because nobody wants to take a pop-up flash photo of, for a portrait.
No.
But it is useful as a controller for Nikon's flash system. They use CLS, which is basically an optical thing. So the pop-up flash means that you can trigger your speed lights that are off camera and do something interesting with that. You don't have that anymore, so that's going to be an extra cost if you use CLS you've got to buy another little controller to put up there or another flash to put up there to control the other lights.
See, the price you see is not the price you pay.
No, and that's why I wanted to bring that up, because when we were talking about prices, I thought this is another thing that's going to drive your price up for using this camera if you fall in that kind of, category of using CLS. Okay, so the battery grip. I love battery grips. I always want them. This one is an MB D18. It is $396.95. That's like double the price of the battery grip I bought for my D700 and D800. Those were, like a couple $100 each. And it's just, the price keeps going up. The XQD cards we mentioned, $160 roughly for, 128 card. The reader for that is going to be $20 to $45, depending on what you get. If you want to go for the SD cards that are UHS 2 compatible, that's $90. And that's going to drive your price of this thing. Assuming you go with more cards and the battery grip, you're going to be up to about $4,000 or so for this camera.
I think they were very sneaky. What they did was they made you think the price was lower than you expected. And then they if you start reading the fine print, you realize maybe after you've bought, if you didn't do your homework, that to use the darn camera, you actually need to invest a whole lot more money in it.
Well, it's kind of like, going on Spirit Airlines. They'll sell you a seat, but if you want to bring luggage, you're going to pay more for that. If you want to put luggage in your overhead, you might pay more for that. You want snacks? Oh, that's going to cost you something too.
Yeah, you won't find me flying with them. I just took one look at the gate and thought, I'm not flying with them.
No. I think it's an interesting camera. It's going to be a very high-end enthusiast or professional grade camera, just under probably their flagship D5. Is it right for you or not? Who knows? I'm curious about it. I can tell you that I will not be one of the first kids on the block to buy this camera.
I'm not interested at all. But
no.
You know me. I'm the real flunky in the photo flunky. I'm quite proud of it, actually, because my stuff works for me.
It does work for you. And you know what? We've got cameras that are working fine for the needs that we have today. And I'd say my D700 is getting a little long in the tooth. If I want to make sure that I have two modern cameras, the D800 and this one might be nice, but it's not something I got to rush out and worry about.
No.
And also, Nikon has had some problems with the D750 having some issues that they had to, I don't know if it was quite a recall, but basically they had some problems that had to come back around twice. You never know if the first thing out of the block is going to be working just properly. My thought is, well, they'll be selling this for a few years to come. I can wait.
Yeah.
You don't sound excited at all by this.
Look, this is not my thing. I'm not into the technology. I'm into the art. I don't care what I need to create it. If I can create it with an iPhone, with a $6,000 camera, whatever it is, it's just going to work for me. And for my needs, I don't need this. So I'm not interested. I'm a hard sell. I want to know what can this do for me?
Well, that's one of the things that I kind of wanted to go over, because the specs it's techno nerd kind of talk. But the question is, what does this do for you that maybe helps someone as an artist? And what you're saying is, for you, what you've got is fine. You don't necessarily need anything here. That none of the features that are on here are going to help you improve your art. They're not.
You see, I'm not swayed by what everybody else has. And I think that's the thing. It's not that I think it's a great camera, but it's not the camera for me. And there are times when I want something really good and I don't have a problem dropping several thousands of dollars on something. But it's got to work for me. I'm just not, I don't bow to peer pressure.
No, that's true. I look at this and I think, you know what? It's nice, but it's not pushing me over the edge. It's the kind of thing that when it's time for having another replacement, this is the one that I would probably look at. But it is not that there's anything wrong with the gear that I've got right now that I've got to jump out and get this. And I also realize that there's going to be more of an expense getting into this camera than my previous cameras. So it's like, what does it buy me in return? I'm not shooting sports or anything where I need to have 9 frames per second. The 46 megapixels is not really a need yet. I've got 36 megapixels. So what are 10 more, megapixels really going to do for me?
Yeah.
Even for the things that I want to create that, I want to share and sell with other photographers. 36 megapixels does everything I need, and probably excessively so.
Yeah.
And low light, you know what? I've got a tripod. I'm not trying to do action in low light photography. I think maybe if you're a concert photographer, this might be something that's really great for you.
Yeah.
But I don't have the need for portrait photography. I certainly don't need it. I've got lights and speed lights and studio strobes.
It depends what you do, and it depends how you're needing to use your photos.
Yeah. So when we ask, is this camera right for you? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But for right now, I think we're going to just watch it and not really jump out for it. It's not something that is a driving need for us, particularly when you look at the expense of getting new accessories to go with it. Thank you for listening to the Photo Flunky Show. We really appreciate you. Show notes are going to be available at williambeam.com/episode 91, and you can get a transcript of the show there for free. You'll also find links to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play Music, and a few other things. And if you've been following this camera, let us know what you think. Leave a comment for us, and let us know, are you planning on getting this or not? Tell us why. Thank you so much. We'll see you again next week.